Let's begin.
Okay, seems stable enough. Wonder what would happen if I mix this with some gasoline. Oh, hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. I was just preparing a little something to go along with tonight's story, a twisted tale of evil experiments gone wrong. Or right. I'll let you decide. It's time for a trip into the Omnus with a little research report that I like to call Omnus, Quality Control.
To tell you the truth, I never believed in any of this Omnus shit either. But I can tell you with all certainty that you should. Now, I've never fancied myself anything more than an author, but in reality, I am more, such as a father, husband, and college graduate. It was this last element that prompted one of my friends to ask me if I wanted to join Omnus, which I would find out later was directly related to my various college degrees. I don't know how this friend got involved with these people, nor will I divulge who exactly they are, only that it's he who put me in contact with them. My first response was actually to think that he was joking, and because of this, I told him that I'd be interested, thinking this was more in line with an inside joke between us. Now, it is possible that you may be asking, what the hell is Omnus? Well, it's a quasi-secret organization with a hand in many experimental fields, such as bioengineering and technological advancements. Need a definition that's a little less vague? Well, you and me both. Omnus isn't telling, I mean. This was all supposed to be fiction, a legend at best. So, when he responded enthusiastically, telling me he'd put me in touch with one of their project leaders, I was unsure what to think. That evening, I received an email for an invite to a virtual meeting with someone I've never heard of, whose title was so long and convoluted, I didn't really understand what he did other than manage projects. I agreed to the interview, and the following day, clicked the link to join the virtual face chat room in real time. The individual on the monitor before me appeared very well dressed, like his suit cost more than I make in a month. His hair was slicked back with a thick layer of grease, and when he smiled with his hello, I couldn't help but notice how brilliantly white the man's teeth were. He legitimately looked as if he had stepped directly out of some 1950s catalog. The man addressed me as Mr. Lockhart, before moving into a few questions, notably failing to introduce himself. The questions began benign and standard enough, asking about my previous work experiences and character traits, but soon moving on into questions regarding my college background, my accreditations in psychology, sociology, management, and physics. Of course, I asked him what the position was actually for, but he instead told me that he could not disclose that information, as it was technically classified. Warning bells sounded in my head like a fire alarm, but this last part had me hooked with intrigue and curiosity. I had to know more, and if the only way I could was to accept the job offer, then so be it. By the end of our conversation, this is what came to pass. The expectations were that I would be out of town for a few weeks at a time and able to return home for a week after each 3-week shift, and I had 1 week to prepare before I started. My wife and children were not happy at all about this arrangement, but when I explained to them the money the organization would be throwing our way, they too agreed that an opportunity like this couldn't be passed up. 7 days later, I kissed them goodbye and boarded the plane, ready to begin my journey into all that plagues me now. My first project, well, made no sense to me at the time. I couldn't fathom why they would put me on a team developing transistors for a theoretical quantum-based computer. My background in physics is a small minor included with a 4-year degree in psychology, making me less than an expert in the field, to say the least. But quantum physics, I had even less knowledge of, as if exploring a new world for the first time as a newborn, but still expected to retain some level of competency, something that was quite literally beyond my means. In other words, my first 2 days there were terrible, struggling to keep up with a team of brainiacs with a lead supervisor from hell. The guy seemed intelligent enough, but he always dropped the F-bomb like every 2 seconds in his thick New York accent. He was hard to take seriously most of the time, honestly. And beyond all this, I saw no mysterious artifacts or events taking place. No insinuation that anything fantastical or ominous was even taking place here at all. Though to be fair, I was moved from the project and assigned to another. Omnus told me it was to keep creativity fresh and keep classified knowledge classified. In truth, though, I'm pretty sure I just suck at developing quantum transistors. My next assignment would prove far more interesting. Bioengineering. I fucking knew it, or at least that's what I thought to myself when assigned to the department. Now, this was a lot more in line with the stereotypes that I've heard about Omnus's work, but nematodes? Why the hell was I configuring genetic sequences for nematodes? Again, I'm no geneticist, and I mainly assisted another scientist with entering data that didn't make much sense to me, and the gentleman I worked with seemed pretty tight-lipped about what it was that we were doing, though I was able to drag a few details out of him. Apparently, the idea was to isolate the genetic sequences in relation to size and effectively change the instinctual behavior of the subjects, nematodes. He also said that this project was designed in tandem with a few others, referencing nanotechnology and quantum application. These statements surely helped to put together a larger picture, but there was obviously a lot of information missing from the whole of it. Still, I found myself privy to more and more of the odd things I had heard so much about, drip-fed as the information might be, and I couldn't help but forge ahead. In the coming days, however, my devotion would be tested. Something happened in the lab on one afternoon, and I still don't understand what. I only noticed when I heard the technician screaming, like somebody was skinning him alive with a butter knife. When I turned, there were so many people in the way, I could barely see what was going on, only catching glimpses of the man in between the shuffle of large bodies moving around, intermittently blocking my view. But what I did see, although still gave me no explanations, horrified me. The man looked like he was leaking blood from what appeared to be very much akin to several bullet holes dappled on exposed skin, and splotches of red seeping through clothing, indicating these sores or wounds were present across his whole body. And in those flashes before my very eyes, I saw each wound or sore grow in size, rapidly erasing the dermis and muscle fascia beneath. More people jumped in my way, and one shouted that the program wasn't running yet, and that this event shouldn't be possible. I'm still not 100% sure of what exactly he meant, but I can recall with clarity the dying screams of a man in immeasurable pain, his whimpers and pleads for help, for someone to save him from his inevitable fate, or the sounds of his grunts, gasps at breath, and his esophagus finally eroding away, leaving him with the momentary capability for wet, gurgled breaths of desperation, before finally succumbing to whatever the hell this was. I was done. I made up my mind right then and there that I wanted out, that I should have never have joined Omnus. I would turn in my resignation in the morning, though I would never get the chance. I awoke in the middle of the night to a violent shaking. It was my undisclosed friend, the one who put me in touch with these people. I hadn't seen him the whole time I was there thus far, and didn't know that we were on the same site. I opened my mouth to let loose a plethora of inquiries, but he hushed me before I could begin, saying there was no time, and that we needed to move quickly. I wanted to know why he was there, specifically, but instead, he explained why we were all there. These organisms I was coding sequences for, they were part of a program to cull a hybrid rat population that had escaped over a year ago. I remembered him telling me about these things, how they were bred with various aggressive species and inadvertently escaped by killing off several staff members. I thought it was just a story, but apparently I was wrong. These things had been breeding with local rat populations, creating further hybridized mutations that are just as dangerous to all mammalian life as their genetic predecessors, if not more. The nematodes we were developing were supposed to infect this dangerous genetically created species through cognitive encoding at a quantum level, manipulating their behavior to be controlled by sophisticated computers, like biological nanites. But something had gone wrong. The disaster in the lab during the afternoon had facilitated yet another accidental release of another biohazard, and as stated by protocol, all team members were to be eliminated and the project buried. He said that something went wrong, and that the means for said control over the parasites was not yet feasible. That's when I remembered my work on the quantum computing sector of the complex, and how by the time I had left, a successful link to a receiver, some receiver, had been established, retested, and confirmed. Something was wrong here. The organization was either lying to him, or he was lying to me, because they did indeed have said capabilities for not only control, but through the same means, the ability to contain. However, I would never get my chance to voice my concerns, as I felt something solid connect with the back of my skull, and my world flashed to black. When I awoke, I found myself restrained and horizontal, facing the ceiling. I realized very quickly that I was strapped down to a metal table. I struggled to get free, but it was of no use. I knew where I was, but I didn't expect to see who I did on a metal operating table beside me. My wife. I began to panic, to bargain away the reality I was forced to deal with. And when the man who had interviewed me entered the room, I knew he wouldn't listen, no matter how much either of us begged. He acted like he barely knew me, talking about the importance of a project such as this one, and my inclusion with it. My psychology background would be of good use once I was under control, whatever that meant. And he would not stop calling me Sutton, as if using a pseudonym to classify his patient under a different designation than the one I had registered with the company. I don't know if this was so he could separate his humanity from his work, or simply take away my sense of self and personal identity. But what he's been doing to both me and my wife is certainly changing us, turning us into different people. And for some reason, I just can't stop smiling. It's genius, really. For quality control, regarding a company such as this, it's more than all-encompassing, and my fate was designed from the beginning.
Well, if one can't stop smiling at those that laugh at their misfortune, join them and laugh back. Joviality heals all, after all, except for poisoning, mortal lacerations, incineration. Well, anyway, make sure to stop by again next weekend for more of that gore galore. And until then, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.